It was a rainy afternoon in the rainiest January on record in our home in Cedar Pines Park, California. I was sitting next to the bed of my wife of 20 years. She was struggling for every breath, and I watched as death crept over her face. It had been a difficult afternoon. The palliative nurse had said that death was imminent and that in just a few hours, her 6.5-year stand with metastatic breast cancer would be over, which it was. When she took her last breath, I felt a sense of inexplicable loss. It's not that I hadn't been prepared. I'm a physician by training. It's that I didn't know what to expect when she was gone. The journey from that point until today, which was about 9 months ago for me, has taught me something about God and the experience of loss. We've spent the weekend here at our Amen conference talking about the presence of God. We know His presence is filled with all kinds of positive attributes that we long for: love, peace, joy. This is the God we serve. There's another part of being in His presence in this world that we sometimes don't talk about, and that is pain. My verse for today is a very short one. You probably know from growing up. John 11:35. Jesus wept. When you think about the story of Jesus, and even could extrapolate back to the Old Testament, you can see that in the Bible, God's interaction with our world because of what sin has done is filled with pain. Although He's omnipotent, although He is the God that spans a billion light-year universe and eternity, He's not kept Himself apart from our pain. He's come here to be with us in the middle of it. And as I think about that picture, it changes the way that I relate to people. We probably all had a picture of God growing up, maybe at some point, who was aloof, or who just didn't show up, or was not present in our lives. I just want to categorically say that that's not true. There's nothing in the Bible that supports that picture. He knows the hairs on our heads. He sees the sparrows when they fall. We serve a God who is intimately acquainted with our lives and therefore intimately acquainted with our pain. How does this apply to what we do every day as a physician who works with God? Paul says that we should rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. I think the first application is for ourselves. We all feel pain. And feeling that pain is a godly response to what's going on in this world. For the first 2 or 3 months after my wife died, I cried every day. And I felt a little sheepish about that, especially when it was in public. Wanted to hide it. Didn't want people to think I was a broken wreck. But in reality, that pain was in some sense a godly response to what was going on in my life, in this world. And beyond that, it helps us and helps show that God is acquainted with the loss in this world. And so sometimes we feel like we need to paint a picture of a God who's always fine and perfect. I think the Bible paints a different picture. The Bible paints a picture of a broken God. And when we enter His presence, we enter both and simultaneously omnipotence and brokenness. That might be a little hard for us to get. I'm still trying to work my mind around it. But that brings me to my second point and how this can help us. We can weep with those who weep when we know that God joins us in the pain. Everything doesn't always have to be perfect. The truth of the matter is, our story is a broken story, and God's story is a broken story. Next time you celebrate the communion service, think about the beauty of God. he himself is broken. He was broken for us. That is the depth of his love. It's not that God wanted or there is any value in being broken. It's what sin does. It's what sin has done, and it is because he is love that he is broken. When we are love, we will be broken too, and we'll be able to meet our patients in their brokenness. As healthcare providers, we see brokenness in this world all over. We know that people are hurting and suffering. My encouragement today is when you see that pain, don't keep yourself aloof, but feel free as God has done to join in the brokenness and work towards the path of healing, because in his presence is fullness of joy. But being real with our pain is sometimes the first step. May God bless you all as you do his mission today.